In the heart of the great continent of Africa, nestled between vast hills and winding rivers, there lay a peaceful village called Okutamba. It was a land of rhythm and tradition, where drums beat like the heartbeat of the people, and elders were the keepers of wisdom, respected above all. But in every basket of ripe fruits, there is sometimes a bitter one. This is the story of Kato, a man who mocked the elderly, and the lesson that changed his life forever. Kato was known across Okutamba, not for his strength, not for his wisdom, but for his sharp tongue and cruel laughter. He was a man of 30, strong, tall, and proud. He walked like the wind owned him. He spoke like no one could teach him. And he laughed, oh how he laughed, at those who bent with age. When the elders sat under the baobab tree to tell stories, Kato would walk by and mimic their trembling voices. "Listen to the wind creak like your bones," he'd say, as others chuckled nervously, too afraid to correct him. He mocked Mzee Baraka, who walked with a cane. He ridiculed Mama Nia, whose back curved like the crescent moon. He even dared to imitate Chief Wekesa, the oldest and wisest man in the village. And yet, the elders never retaliated. They only looked at Kato with quiet eyes, eyes full of something he did not understand. Each year, the villagers celebrated the festival of the ancestors, a time when they honored those who had passed and sought blessings for the living. Drums filled the air. Fires danced in the night. Children wore masks, and elders told tales of bravery, magic, and love. It was a sacred time, but Kato, as always, took it as a chance to entertain. As the elders poured libations and chanted to the ancestors, Kato stood behind them, making faces. He mimicked their slow movements. He twisted his back like Mama Nia. He wobbled like Mzee Baraka. He croaked like Chief Wekesa. People laughed, but it was an uncomfortable laughter, the kind that hides shame. The chief, quiet and grave, turned to him and said, "Kato, a man who laughs at age forgets that the river he mocks is the one he will drink from." But Kato only smirked. "I will never be like you, old man." He said it with such pride that even the drums seemed to go silent for a moment. That night, as the moon rose high and the fires dimmed, a thick mist rolled into the village. It was unusual. The animals grew quiet. The wind did not blow, and from the mist came a stranger. He wore a cloak of leaves, and his face was hidden by a carved wooden mask. He walked slowly, leaning on a staff of twisted ebony. The villagers gathered, murmuring in curiosity. The elders bowed their heads, but Kato stood tall, sneering. "Another old fool with a stick," he whispered. The stranger spoke in a deep, echoing voice. "I have come to teach a lesson to the one who mocks time. For age is not a curse, but a crown." Then he raised his staff and pointed it at Kato. In an instant, the village disappeared. Kato opened his eyes. He stood alone, in a village that looked like Okutamba, but everything was older. The huts were faded, the trees drooped, the drums were silent. He turned to call out, but his voice cracked. He looked down at his hands and gasped. They were wrinkled, spotted, shaking. His back ached, his legs wobbled. He was old. No, he was ancient. "What is this madness?" he cried. But the only answer was the wind. He stumbled through the village. Children laughed at him. Young men pushed past him. Some called him Wazifu, the withered one. He tried to tell them he was Kato, strong Kato, young Kato, but they only laughed and mimicked his bent walk. Kato sat under the baobab tree, the same tree he used to mock the elders from. Now he was the one who trembled. He was the one with the cane. He was the one people laughed at. And then he wept. Tears flowed like rivers in the rainy season, not from pain, but from regret. When the morning sun rose, Kato awoke to the sound of drums. He opened his eyes and found himself under the baobab tree, back in his village, young again, strong again. It had all been a vision, or had it? He looked around. The villagers watched him silently. Even the children stood still. The elders sat beneath the tree, as they always did. Slowly, carefully, Kato approached them. He fell to his knees. "Forgive me," he whispered. "I was blind. I did not see the beauty of your age, nor the weight of your wisdom." Mzee Baraka smiled gently. Mama Nia reached out a trembling hand and placed it on his head. Chief Wekesa spoke. "Now you have drunk from the river and understand its depth." From that day on, Kato was no longer the man who mocked. He became the one who listened, who sat beside the elders and learned, who helped carry firewood for Mama Nia, who carved a new walking stick for Mzee Baraka, who sang songs of praise for Chief Wekesa. And years later, when his hair began to gray and his steps slowed, the village children would sit at his feet and listen. "Once I was foolish," he would say. "I laughed at the river before I knew how deep it ran." In African tradition, age is not a burden. It is a blessing. The wrinkles on a face are not cracks. They are carvings of wisdom. To mock the elderly is to spit at the path you too must walk. Respect the ones who came before you, for they carry the stories you have yet to understand. This was the story of Kato, the man who mocked the elderly, until life showed him what it means to grow old. May we all learn before it is too late.